coming along. Thanks so much for coming along and coming along on time. We have a very interesting subject before us today, and I'm really so excited about sharing with you my thoughts. Actually, you are one of the first few people that will be hearing my thoughts on the Lean Startup methodology, and I'm excited to be able to share those things with you today. At least some of those things with you today, so that you can apply them into your business. I'm sure many of us have heard about the Lean methodology, and it's important for us to actually know how to apply it into our startups so that we can run successful businesses. So it's an exciting time actually in the entrepreneurial world for us to be able to link up. And it's good that we have things like the webinar and webcast and Google Plus and all this kind of Skype and all those platforms for us to be able to get together from so many destinations around the world. So the world is becoming a smaller place, and incidentally, as the world gets smaller in that sense, we also face an enormous amount of competition. Hence, we need to find ways and tools and strategies that helps us to launch our businesses in better ways. So we have 1 more minute before we actually kick off. I'll tell you a little bit more about myself. For those who may not know me, I'll introduce myself in a moment. Just counting down the seconds, so to speak, for us to kind of get started now. Like I said earlier, we've got people joining us from all over the world. You're very welcome to the first. It's actually my first webinar for a while. For some reason, I kind of took some time off webinars, and I've been doing some other stuff, obviously. But it's good to be able to come back to do a webinar on a Thursday evening in London. It's a little bit mild. It's not quite the summer weather that we expect, but it's warm enough. So we're going to kick off. It's 35 past now, so we're going to just get started. Okay. First thing I want to do is to introduce myself to you. For those of us who may not know me, my name is Bumi Tokon, and I've worked as a business advisor for many years, around about 20 years, and I still do work as an advisor at the moment. And I also, I'm a Udemy premium instructor. If you go to udemy.com and you type in my name, you'll see quite a list of courses that I'm doing. So I've got about, at the time of recording this anyway, it's about 20,000 students or close to 20,000 students from all over the world, mostly from the US and Australia. I'm informed by the statistics. And it's my desire, my goal, to really help startup businesses kind of position themselves in such a way that they become very successful. For me, myself, I've run quite a few businesses. Some of them worked very well and some of them just failed woefully. But through all that, I've been able to learn principles, techniques, and strategies that I think I'm able to pass on to others. So I've helped close to 1,000 businesses to start, particularly when I was working at a business startup place. And I'm also very much involved in raising funds for new businesses and helping them to kind of get hold of the money that they need to run their businesses. So what you're going to be getting from me tonight is not only perhaps academic knowledge, it's more experiential knowledge too. So I'm really looking forward to being able to add value to your business today. So we're talking about the Lean Startup. It's going to be an introduction tonight because it's hard to kind of, it's impossible, I would say, for me to give you everything that I know about Lean Startup in the space of 1 hour. But I want to ask you that if you're just joining us, could you please go to your email? I'm going to give you a minute to do that. Go to your email and see if you can get hold of the there's an email I sent you today, which has got a business model canvas attached to it. It's a single sheet of paper. And I also want to ask you to please get hold of some writing material, because you're going to need to take some notes as we go along. All right. Now let's move on now. Okay. Today we're going to be talking about the lean business plan. I'm going to focus on the lean startup, but I'm also going to focus on what I want to call the lean business plan. All right. And the aim of today is really two things. Number one, I'm going to disclose to us the content of a lean business plan that'll help you to create a profitable business. It's not just about writing a plan that helps you to get money to raise funds, but it's also about having a plan of action that's going to help you to create a successful business, or the business of your dreams. So the second thing I'm going to do today, hopefully, is to also help you to understand the lean strategies, what they are, and how you can practically apply them into your business. So my aim is to cover those two things in as much detail as I possibly can. All right. So now, the first thing to do is perhaps to look at the content. What's going to be in the content of a lean business plan? Remember, we're talking about a lean business plan, and not just a business plan that perhaps we may have written before, but a lean business plan. And when I show you the methodology of what a lean startup should look like, then you will then be able to appreciate the concept of a lean business plan. A lean business plan actually need not be more than 10 pages, actually 10 to 12 pages. It's the kind of business plan that you can put together, having done certain amount of work that will enable you to do so. So, the first and major part of a lean business plan is my business model. So, instead of, if you're familiar with business plans, you know that the first 2 pages is what we call the executive summary. But instead of having an executive summary, I'm going to introduce to you the business model canvas, which is going to help you to put together your business model. Now, what is a business model? A business model really is the way that a business has determined to apply their resources in order to provide value to the clients or customers, and also to generate the best return for the business. So it's the way that the business has decided to use all its resources to provide real value to their clients or customers, and also to generate as much profit as possible. Okay, if that's a profit-making company. If it's a social enterprise that is a non-for-profit company, it will still be the way that that business or enterprise plans to use all its available resources to provide value to the clients, as well as remaining profitable and delivering its outcome. So if it's a non-for-profit, it's about outcomes, and it's about delivering good value to the client as well. So we can't take anything away from delivering value, but then the end result, if it's a social enterprise, is really about reaching or actually achieving its outcomes, whatever those outcomes are. But if it's a profit-making business, it's about generating as much profit as possible. So the first part of your business plan will explain to yourself and to anyone else who wants to read it your own business model. And we're going to go a little bit into that today. The second part of a lean business plan will have in it the management team. We'll only have the management team from the point of view of just writing down their names, but it's going to have the management team from the point of view of their expertise, their experience, and the value they're going to bring to the business. Okay, that's what that's going to do. The third part of the lean business plan will be the market. Okay, how does this business plan to scale itself, and how does it plan to go viral if possible? How does it plan to take the business from selling perhaps 10, 100 units of something to selling, 1 million units? How does it plan to get to go from having 10,000 users to 1 million users? How does it plan to go from selling 500 units of a particular product or service to selling 100,000 or 20,000 or 50,000 or 10 million units of the same product? So how does it plan to, and it's got underneath that, how does it plan to sustain its edge? How does it plan to react to the environmental conditions? And how does it plan to conduct future experiments? Or what are those future experiments going to be? So that's the third part of the plan. Now that's quite robust, really, to be able to not only to get attention of a perhaps an investor, but also to persuade you. This whole business plan is about persuading you yourself as the entrepreneur that you have a good business. Okay, it's got to do that first before it can persuade anyone else. So that's the third part of the lean business plan. Now the fourth part of the lean business plan is actually the business structure. So what is that talking about? It's talking about really how is that business going to manage itself in terms of perhaps the vehicle for taxation, or the way, whether it's going to be a limited company in the UK or a partnership, or is it going to be a sole trader, or is it going to be an LLC as in the US, or is it going to be a corporation as in the US? So it's going to determine that. And it's going to determine that based on not so much what the clients think in particular, because I'm going to tell you that sometimes clients care less what business structure you have. They just want a service. So it's more about your tax position and the benefits of having certain types of business structures for your business. That's what's important. So you're going to be deciding which ones you're going to choose. Now, the fifth part of a lean business plan will have the financials, and those financials will include perhaps the budget. It will include the cash flow forecast. Then it's going to include also perhaps how much you need and what you're going to spend the money on, and just various financial information that you have gathered as a result of the way you plan to market and the way you plan your business model, as we discussed earlier in number 1. Now number 6 will be your appendices, and this will have perhaps all the tests and experiments you've conducted, and I'm going to tell you what those are in a moment, okay? Because it sounds all scientific. Well, the lean startup is actually a scientific approach to running a business. So when I'm talking about experiments and stuff like that, is really because that's the way that the lean startup can work. And if you work it that way, you will go beyond whatever you think you can, because it's actually a good way to run a business. So we're going to have in number 6 the appendices that will have all the information about the experiments you've run, the letters of intent or letters of recommendation, CVs, and every other bulky stuff that you just want to put into the business plan. That's where you're going to have that. And then finally, this is just for my notes actually, which I'm going to do when I actually put this down into a course, is going to have the key terms explained in simple English. So, with that said, as the content of a lean business plan, which is the business model, the management team, the market, or scalability and virality, the business structure, the financial, the appendices, those are the 6 major parts that the lean business plan will have. All right. If there's any questions, please write me a note on the left side of your screen there, and I'll be able to answer your questions. So now, why do businesses fail? Why is there so much a failure among startups? Well, one of the reasons, there's so many reasons, but here are just a few. Startups are like, there's a big myth that says that startups are like small versions of big businesses. Well, that's not true, because incidentally, if you look at a big business like a now big business like Coca-Cola, or now big business like Google, all they're doing is really executing a known business model, which means they have tried and tested a business model, or they have searched and now have come up with a business model that works. So all they're doing at the moment is executing that business model. Now, in contrast, a startup business is really in search for a business model that works. And that's what we're going to discuss as we go along. The second reason why businesses fail, or if we go back to that first reason, is that when you try to run your business like a big business and not a startup, it's just not going to work, because what you're going to have to do is to get sales director, marketing director, and you're paying them these fat salaries, but you're not sure about your business model yet. So until you get a business model, you're not in a position to start executing. So your first task as a startup business is to search for a business model that works. So you cannot run a startup like a big business. Those who do suffer from failure. The second thing is, startups fail because they build a product and they think when they build the product, customers will come. You and I know it doesn't work that way. Just because you build a product does not mean that the customers will come. You have to make sure that you approach the right customers for them to actually purchase. And that comes to number 3, which says that if you do a good product launch, people will buy. That's not true as well. So businesses fail because they think, I'll just build a product, I'll go into my closet, build a product, and then people will come and I'll do a big launch and people will buy. Well, it doesn't work that way anymore, because people now have options. People have, many other ways they purchase. Now you're going to find the right channels to distribute your product so that people actually know about it. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a moment. Customers don't know what they want. You as the entrepreneur, you know what the customer wants. Customer doesn't know what they want. But that's not true. Customer does not need to tell you the solution you should bring into the market, but customers are very much aware of their pain. So they can describe their pain to you. So if they can tell you their pain and the problems and the challenges they have, it is the entrepreneur's job to now create the solution that particular niche wants. All right? So failure to do that will also result in business failure. So that's some of the reasons why businesses fail. And, another reason is businesses then run out of money in terms of they're trying to, pay huge salaries, or maybe they're in big offices and they're not really making much money, and the burn rate is so fast that they burn up all the cash that they have. So we're going to be looking at the lean methodology and how we can use that as a means to actually move forward. So now I'm going to actually show you, I'm going to give you 3 case studies, okay, to help explain lean startup. You are more likely going to get the concepts of lean startup by just following me through these 3 examples. The first example, of course, Zappos. Zappos was a company that was eventually sold to Amazon for close to $1 billion. All right. And then the second one is by Ash Maurya, who is one of the lean startup credible educators. But he also wrote a book, and I'm going to show you how he did that using the lean principles. And then the third one is actually me many years ago when I used to distribute music. I'm going to show you how I actually used lean startup principles to make the business work. All right. So let's go now. Let's look at Zappos. Let's learn. Let's see what can we learn about lean startup from Zappos. Remember that Zappos started as a shoe company only. Okay. So in today's market, if somebody's operating on the old model, okay, which is go somewhere, go to your closet, build a product, and then try and sell it on, and then try and sell it to people, they would not have done it the way that Zappos did. So, Nick Swimmerman wanted the Airworks trainers or Air Max trainers, and then he went to the shopping mall to try and find one, and he couldn't. So, so what did he do? He now thought about an idea that, perhaps people are going through the same situation as he went through, searching for a particular kind of trainers and couldn't find it. So he developed a website. Now, that website was not a fully loaded website, as some of us will have done today. Somebody wanted to sell shoes, they will have developed this huge website, purchase loads of shoes, and then hope to market and sell them. But he didn't do that. What he did was to create a simple website, all right, which is what we're going to call a minimum viable product. Then he took pictures of shoes that are already in another shop, okay, put those pictures on his website. When people purchased that shoe, he then went to the shop to buy the shoe. Okay? Somebody purchased the shoe, he then went to the shop and bought the shoe, and then what did he do with that? He then sold the shoe to the to the person who purchased the shoe in the first place. Now, what happened was he used that process as a learning opportunity, as a learning curve. That's what he did. He used that to learn about sizes, services, and also how he was going to now implement his own business, his own services. So once he discovered the business model, he was now able to start a business. And between you and me, that business has now become one of the biggest businesses. Obviously, Amazon bought it for such a huge amount. Let me give you another example that'll help you. Again, let's look at another example here with Ash Maurya, Running Lean book. He wrote a book called Running Lean. So he first of all had the idea. Actually, Ash's story is a little bit different, because he was actually instructed by his blog readers to put together a book from the blog post he was writing. So somebody gave him an idea that, Ash, you should put together a book in all this really good content that you have. So he said, well, since 12 people have been telling him to write a book, he said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'll write a book, and I'll spend my time writing a book. If I'm going to get 1,000 people to sign up as being interested in writing the book. So what did he do? He put up a page, a simple opt-in page. 1,000 people signed up after a few months. They said, okay, this is looking good. So I'm going to do next, instead of just go write the book, go lock myself in a room, write the book. No, I'm going to keep on putting up my posts, and then I'm going to create a workshop. If I can get 30 people to come to the workshop and they like the content, then I know then that, this content is going to sell. So that's what he did. But he didn't get all those 30 people in one go. He split them up into 3 groups, knowing that, okay, let me first of all teach this first 10 people. So if it works, then I'll teach the next 10 people. And if that doesn't work, then I know that there's something wrong, and I'll go back and fix it. Okay? So that's what he did. After the first workshop, the people who attended the first workshop said to him, you know what, Ash, if you had charged for this, we would have paid, because it was that good. So he knew that he had content that would sell. What's the next process he did? He didn't go lock himself up, write the book. No, that's not what he did. He now got pre-sales. He said to people, okay, expanded the site, and to people, okay, if you come on board and you pay a particular amount of money, you can get the book first before anyone else at a discount. So a few people signed up for that. And then he went on again, and then a publisher came, heard about the book, publisher came along, and he got offered a publishing deal. But he said, no, I'm not going to go with the first person that was the book. So he didn't do that deal. But then what then happened was, all the people that purchased the book, he decided that it was going to be drip selling the book to them week by week. So he was committed to actually producing every 2 weeks. He produced a chapter and send it. Every 2 weeks, he produced a chapter and sent it. So people were very much inclined to read the chapters, send him feedback, and he learned so much, expanded the landing page, now got social proof. In all that, he discovered a business model that worked, and now, on the first release of the book, he sold 10,000 copies of that book. That was a lean startup strategy. Let me give you the final example here. This is my example. I was working as an independent label distributor, distributing vinyl back in the day of vinyl. Now, if you understand anything about the music business, the reality of the matter is that 95% of released music only sells less than 100 copies. Okay, only about 1 or 2% sell over 1 million copies. Most music sells less than 100 copies. So the independent labels I was working with were struggling because they were not really making money. So because we were told to act like major labels. And again, that doesn't work. Acting like big businesses doesn't work. You got to discover a business model. The Sonys and all the big labels, the EMIs, they already have a working model. So all they do is execute, as I said earlier on. What they're doing is executing, not searching for a model. So we had to search for a model. So the labels I was working for were experiencing really poor sales. So I decided that what are we going to do now? Okay, what we're going to do is, you guys don't go manufacture the records and then bring them to me. No, just manufacture one single record. That's going to cost them about £30. We call that a dub plate. You manufacture that dub plate, bring it to me, and I'll take that record around the shops and go get orders on it. If I get good orders, then you manufacture to order. Okay? And that's exactly what we did. So I was going around the shop with this single record, play to them whilst I'm selling my other stuff, and then, I get some feedback, and based on the feedback, I will then go back to the label, and they'll manufacture. And guess what? Because they were not manufacturing more than they needed, they were saving money on two fronts. Number one, they didn't have stock to have to then think about what to do with, and they were not manufacturing more than they needed. And whatever they needed, they were selling it. Whatever they manufactured, they sold. So we had a good learning curve. The other thing we learned whilst doing that is that we begin to understand what the particular stores wanted to purchase. And that was a huge learning curve for us. So I take all that information back to the labels, and the labels can create music that people want to buy. In that way, we discovered our business model and we began to make better sales. So, when we think about those three examples of Zappos, of Ashmoriah, and myself, you can see that what we were doing was searching for a business model, not just going out with our concept, with our ideas, with our hypotheses and trying to make that work. No, we were searching for a business model. And once we found the business model, it was easy for us to scale, it was easy for us to market, and it was easy for us to actually really just move up. All right. So I've shown you a lean startup by example. So let's let's go now into some nitty-gritty about what a lean startup is. So what is lean startup? Having seen from the models I showed you, what is lean startup? Well, it's a set of practices that help entrepreneurs increase the odds of building a successful startup business. So that's by Eric Ries. Eric Ries, Steve Blank, those are the pioneers of the lean startup movement. So Eric says it's a set of practices that help entrepreneurs increase the odds of building a successful startup business. It is building what customers want. Remember, if you think about the 3 examples I gave you, my example of music, what helps us to produce music that people wanted to buy. Ash Maurya produced a book that people wanted to buy, and Zappos produced the kind of customer service that the client wants to pay for. So it says here that the lean startup, it is building what customers want, what they are willing to pay for, to build it quickly and to build it cheaply. That's what the lean startup is all about, or at least some of the principles here. Then another thing is, the third thing is that these practices can be applied to every business as well as every aspect of it. Okay, so we're going to discover that as we go along as well. Okay, one of the key principles of the lean startup, or key practices, is this loop called the build, measure, learn loop. That's by Eric Ries. Eric Ries came up with this idea that what we all needed to do when we start a business, all we have as entrepreneurs is hypothesis. So, which means really we have guesses. We think this is what our product is going to do. We think this is the way it's going to work. So we have ideas. So the best thing to do is to build what Ries calls a minimum viable product, which is just enough of a product that solves the problems that the ideal customer has. Okay? So what we're trying to do first, we're just creating a service or a product just enough to satisfy perhaps what the ideal or the early adopter client would have. That's what we're doing. Okay? So it talks about this loop called the build, measure, learn loop. All right. So now, I don't know what. Okay. All right. Let's just move on. Okay, this is recording as well. Okay. So now, I'm talking about the build, measure, learn loop. Now, if you think about this, you're creating a product that that your ideal clients would want, or ideal customers would want, and then you are measuring certain metrics that helps you to determine how well the product is received, or how well it's used, or how well your customers are retained. Then you go back that loop to the idea again to adjust the product, and you keep doing that in what's called the agile development. You just keep tweaking the product, adding more features to it if necessary, because you're hearing from your clients. You're not building your product in isolation and then bringing it to the marketplace hoping it will sell. No, you're engaging with your customers all the way from the idea stage to the product stage. In other words, you're going to end up having what's called a product market fit, or a product solution fit, or a product market fit. Perhaps product solution fit first, and then product market fit, because you're going to be creating a solution. You're going to be creating a solution that your customers actually want to pay for. So that's the idea of the lean startup. Okay. Another practice is what's called, this is Steve Blank now. Steve Blank talks about 4 things: customer discovery, customer validation, customer creation, and then company building. It really says The first two is what's going to help you to search for a business model. And the last two is what's going to help you to execute a business model. So what you're doing first as a startup is you're searching for a business model. And then the second two, which is customer creation and customer building and company building, is what's going to help you to execute. So what is customer discovery? Well, remember what I said earlier, that every startup has ideas, and the ideas they have are what's called hypotheses or guesses. They don't really know. They think they know. We all think as entrepreneurs that we know the answer, but it says until you talk to the customers who have the problems you're trying to solve, you don't really know. And that's true. Until you talk to the clients who you're going to solve the problems they have, you don't really know. So that's customer discovery. So the first thing you want to do is to discover that you actually have customers who are willing or who have a problem that you are able to solve, or they have a problem worth solving. That's customer discovery. So you need to go out of the building, as Steve Blank says. He said the solution is outside the building. So you go out of the building and go talk to your ideal customers, or the customers that you already earmarked in your business model as to be likely to have the problems that you want to solve. Okay? Once you've done that, then you can validate these customers. The second box now, second circle, you can validate these customers by creating what's called a minimum viable product. So, if you talk to the customers and you discover that the customers are not quite the ones that have the problems you thought of, you have to come back and pick another group of customers, okay? And then create a solution for them. If you keep going around the customer discovery and customer validation, you will eventually find a product solution fit. A product solution fit, okay? So once you find a product solution fit, then you can now develop your business model and scale your business model, because you already have a business model that works, because you already know you have a product that people are buying. Once you're able to do that, that's when you move to customer creation. That's when you scale up. You never scale up until you have a product that people are actually buying. Let me give an example of this. You know, I was at a meeting just yesterday. I was at a meeting where startups came to raise funds for their businesses. And in all three cases, although they had ideas, they actually have not moved past the idea stage. They were not actually even in customer discovery, and they wanted £70,000, £80,000, £400,000 for someone to. They wanted investors to give them that money to help them discover whether they even had clients or not. I mean, come on, investors are not stupid. By the virtue of their name, investors, it means they're looking for places to invest and make more money. So they're not going to give you money to help you go search out whether you have clients or not. That's your job as an entrepreneur. That's your decision as an entrepreneur. You need to be coming to investors with a searched out business model. So these first two circles will help you to discover your business model, because you have ideas, you have hypotheses, you have guesses, and you're going out to validate those guesses and creating a product that you believe your clients will want. And because they're purchasing those products, you can now scale up, and then finally you'll be able to build a company because you are now in the execution stage. Also interesting. Now, finally, we're going to look at this before we go on to something else. We're going to look at, okay, these are the metrics you measure. You can measure acquisition. You can measure acquisition is the number of users you have, or you can measure activation, which is the experiences that people have when they first of all use your or what you call the first time first experience, or you also need to measure retention, or you can measure revenue, or whether they're referring your product to others. But for a startup, the two most important metrics to measure generally in the beginning is the activation, which is your early adopters, what they're doing with your product. Are they having a good first time experience? And also, are they coming back? So it's about activation and retention. Many people want to skip the activation and retention, and they want to jump into acquisition. So they want to start acquiring loads and loads and loads of customers, but they're not even sure that they've got the right product, because the only way you know you have the right product is that you're having good activation, which is good first time experience, and also you're having good retention, people actually coming back. So it's only when you're doing those two things that you can now go out and acquire more clients. Okay, all is gonna make sense in a moment. So now, in your lean business plan, remember we talked about the 6 parts that the lean business plan should have. We said 1, it has to have what we call the business model. The 2nd, the management. The 3rd, the market. And the 4th, the business structure. The 5th, the financials. And the 6th one, the appendices. Now, here is how you create your business plan, the first page of your business plan. That first page of your lean business plan should have in it the customer, like the customer group or client group that you are targeting, meaning your niche. And secondly, it should have the activities you're going to pursue, then the costs of pursuing those activities, the revenues or profits, and then finally the amount you need to scale. Let me go over that again. The first part of your business plan should have the customer group you want to approach or you're going to sell to, the activities you're going to pursue, the cost of pursuing those activities, and the revenue you're going to derive. Then the amount of money you need to scale is not the amount of money you need for a pre-concept idea. No. It's you are coming to appreciate the amount of money you need to scale, which is to take the business forward to what Steve Blank described for us earlier as customer creation stage. Okay, so for you to get those 4 things, you've got to use what's called the business model canvas, which I'm going to show you in a moment. The above is obtained after creating hypotheses, testing them, getting results, and finally reaching a working business model. So how do you create this working business model? So let me show you a business model canvas. I'm going to change the slides because for some weird reason that just didn't come out well. So I'm going to show you this particular slide now. And if we can just get this today, I think we'll have got a lot out of this particular webinar. Okay, so now the first, look at the screen. If you're looking at the screen, you've got the right side of the screen and the left side of the screen. Okay, so the right side of the screen, at the extreme right, has got what's called the customer segment. This is the group of people that you plan to target. That's your customer segment. So what customer group are you going for? And you're going to try and niche this down. You're going to niche it down to as much a group as possible. So rather than say you're selling sunglasses, okay, because we're now in the summer. Say you're selling sunglasses. It is not wise for you to say, Well, 1 million people wear sunglasses in, you know, let's just say, let's say, 1 billion people wear sunglasses around the world. So that's my target group. So no, that's not good enough. So you gotta niche it down to perhaps sunglasses for the 30 to 40-year-old, or sunglasses with fashionable sunglasses for the 25 to 35. That's more of a niche that you're going for. Okay, and it's gonna be big enough to be able to make a profit as well. That's the first. You're going to decide. You gotta pick a niche. Okay, you gotta draw, as Ash Morale would say, you gotta draw a line in the sand. So you gotta draw a line in the sand. You gotta pick a niche. Okay, then you go to the third box there that's got value proposition. So what are you selling? What is the product that you are hoping that this particular group will want to buy? All right, and then the third thing is, what kind of relationships? We look at the right. We're sticking to the right side now. What kind of relationships do you think you need to have with those people? So when we look at someone like Amazon has with us an automated relationship. But if you look at a bank that has that's for the wealthy or high net worth kind of people, they're gonna have a close relationship with them. All right, depends on what you're selling. You need to decide what kind of relationship you think you're gonna be able to have with this client. The fourth thing is, what channels are you going to use to reach those people? Is it going to be Facebook, referrals? Is it going to be leafleting? Is it going to be Google AdWords? Whatever channels you're going to reach. It's going to be other retailers. Whatever channels do you think, or what channels do you think you're going to need to use to reach those people? And then finally, what kind of income are you planning to generate from the activities you're going to pursue? And then you're going to go over to the other side, the left side of the business model canvas. We talked about the key activities that you're going to be engaged in. You're going to be engaged in production. You're going to be engaged more in marketing. And you're going to be engaged more in product creation, whatever it is. Then the key resources that you need. Do you need to have a building? Do you need to have a machinery? Perhaps you don't need all those. Perhaps all you need is just a computer. Then finally, you look at, two more things you look at. Then you look at the key partners that you need. Are you going to need other retailers? Are you going to need key partners like mentors, coaches, and all those kind of people? And then finally, you look at the cost structure. How much is it going to cost you to actually have the key activities, the key resources, and the key partners? If you're paying them, perhaps you're using affiliates, so you're going to pay them a commission from whatever sale they make. The difference between your cost structure and your revenue streams will be your profits. Okay? The difference between your cost structure and revenue streams will be your profit. So that's really the business model. So what you want to do as a startup is to experiment with this business model canvas by perhaps going first to talk to your customers, finding out their problems, and then seeing whether you can create a value proposition that they're going to like. And from talking to them, you'll be able to find out how they're solving their problems right now, so you know the channels through which you're going to reach other people like them. So in the beginning, what you're really looking for is what's called the early adopters. You just want the early adopters, the people who are much more inclined to take on your product, to start using your product, or start giving you the credible information that you need to create a value proposition. Once you've done that, you know the kind of relationships you're going to have, then you can move on to the left side of the business model canvas. And as you experiment with each one, which is you're testing each one. So let's say you think, okay, I'm going to need to use Facebook. You can test Facebook. If Facebook works, then you know that, okay, you're going to use Facebook as one of your channels. If it doesn't work, then you can pick another channel and use that. You can try, perhaps you're going to try Skype, or you're going to try maybe email marketing, or you're going to try affiliates maybe to use as a means of reaching your clients. But the first thing you need to do is to make sure you've got the right client group and that you have a value proposition that solves the problems that that client group has. Until you try and test that, you don't really have a business. Okay? So let's look at something else. Let me add value to this. Let me add value to this by going back on to okay. What I was gonna go I'm gonna change the slides now and go back to where we were before. So okay, let's just do that now. Alright, so just loading up. So now let's go. Okay, we're in number 15. Thank you very much. So we're still talking about, and we're gonna be drawing to a close now. We're still talking about the lean business plan, okay? Which is the first area. This is really where the work is. What you should do first is to use your business model canvas that I showed you and go through the 9 sections of that business model canvas. Find a business model that works, and then you are able to perhaps just repeat that the exercise of maybe you have a, if you think about what Zappos did. If you use Zappos as an example, remember, you went to the shoe shop, existing shoe shop, took a picture of the current shoes that were being sold, used that picture, put that picture on his own website. When people purchased, then he went to the shop, bought the shoe, then sent the shoe to the buyer. So now, he was able to know quite a lot of things. He was able to determine the channel that worked. The way he got people to his website to purchase the shoe in the first place, those were the channels. Now, he was able to create value for the client because then he learned what type of shoes they wanted and the customer service they needed. He was able to understand the key activities he needed to pursue because he knew that he had to do a lot of marketing. The key partners he had would have been other retailers in the beginning, but later on that probably would have been other manufacturers. He knew his costs and he also knew his revenue. I understand that he was making a loss doing that, but he used it as a learning curve. So all he did was to provide what Eric Ries called a minimum viable product, which is the minimum viable product that could solve the problems of finding good shoes to purchase by just doing that simple website. That's exactly what we need to do. Once we've discovered our business model, we would document it in these 5 sections. We would say, for example, the clients we're going for is the 25 to 35-year-old who are avid users of the internet for their shopping. Okay? The activities we're going to get engaged in is marketing to drive traffic to our websites, and the cost of that is, whatever, let's say, we just started. So let's say $1,000 a month. And the revenues to get is, from every $1,000 a month we spend, we are making a profit of $5,000 a month. Okay? You understand? We've tested this. It works. For every $1,000 we spend, we are making an additional $4,000. Now, to scale up to making, 100,000, we need 20,000. You understand? So that is a workable business model. You're not thinking to yourself, oh, well, I don't really know whether they're going to buy the shoes, actually. So I'm not sure whether it's going to sell. You move past that. You're in a place where you now have a working business model. And all you need to do is to continually tweak that model, make changes, and then move forward. I want to say one more thing that Eric Ries always says. He talks about pivoting, which is to pivot means to make a change, a measurable change, or a sizable change in one of these 9 elements of the business model canvas. So you could have started thinking, I think the 25 to 35 would be the age group I'm going for, but you might discover that actually they're not going to buy that product, or they're not interested, or that's not the problem they have. So if you change your target market from 25 to 35 to now 50 to 60, what you've done is to pivot. Now, many successful businesses started like that. Because, for example, Flickr were going to be a games company before they pivoted into a photo company. PayPal did not start by thinking they're going to have a payment system as a company. They started doing something else. So you will notice that pivoting is all part of what a lean business model system is all about. So you've got to discover your business model, and you might have to pivot to discover that business model, but your vision doesn't change. It is actually the way that you plan to reach that vision, the strategy to help you to achieve that vision that changes. So I'm going to close by saying this. So you want to go back to the first, I want to remind you of what I said lean business plan is all about. So I'm gonna go back to slide 1. Not slide 1, maybe just the previous here we go. Slide 5. Remember that the lean business plan is all about you, first of all, finding your business model and then documenting your business model that works. If you're putting together a lean business plan, that's what you're doing. You're finding a model that you can execute, you're documenting that. You're showing how that's going to work. Then it's your management team. Then it's your market, how you're going to scale. Then it's your business plan, your business structure, which is the vehicle which you're going to use to actually run the business. And that's going to be, like I said, a limited company, a sole trader or a partnership, or any other business model that you're going to use, any other business structure you're going to use. Then your financials, and finally, you're going to have the appendices. All right, that's where we're going to stop right now. Today, we've just been able to discuss number 1, which is the business model, and there's a lot more we can talk about this business model. And I really look forward to seeing and helping you. Let me just say this: if you put together your business model canvas, you can send it to me, and I'll have a look at it to see how I can help add value to your business model canvas. Now, just before you go, I have an offer for you here that I have to share this with you, because I think it's quite important, being one of the things that can happen, that I can help you with. I put together a training package that I feel can be very helpful for all of us starting in business. Now, I've got 3 packages here, and it's interesting. The first package is I can give you access to all my courses on Udemy as we speak, which is about 14 different courses, includes cash flow, marketing, Facebook marketing, online marketing, raising money, business plan, entrepreneurship, so many other wonderful topics. You can have access to that, to all 14 for a lifetime value it's a lifetime access for $47 as an introductory offer. That's a self-service product for you. The second package is for $97, a one-time payment. Also, you have access to all my 14 courses, and you can come on the webinars for 6 months. So I do a webinar once a month, and you can come on it now for 6 months. Now, the third package that I'm offering, which is what most people actually want, is for $297. Okay, but I'm doing a nice deal for you here, where you can actually pay that money over 6 months at a rate of $49.50 every month. Now you'll be able to access all my 14 courses and the monthly webinars for 1 whole year. Plus, I'll give you 6 one-to-one sessions every month where I actually help you with your business, okay? And you get to ask me 2 golden questions a month. So if you have any questions in particular relation to your business, you can actually just email me and I'll give you as good answers as I can as possible. And also, finally, I'm going to give you my 3 bestseller books once you sign up. So that's the package. So if you look at on the next page, you have the link to these programs. Okay, it's all there for you. If you want them, I'm looking forward for you to coming on board. Come on board with me. Let me help you with your lean business plan. Let me help you with your lean business model, and let's make sure that together we can both work together in your business to make it a success. All right, so we're gonna close now, and really thanks for joining me today, and thanks for spending time to listen to some of my thoughts on what a business model is, and my thoughts on the lean business plan, how we can put one together to help us run our businesses more effectively. And I look forward to seeing you soon. All right, see you soon. Bye.